Welcome to the second area of Spelunky, the jungle. This area, in my opinion, is one of the most dangerous in the game. It's very underrated. It introduces you to a variety of new traps, like these Tiki Traps that have spikes that protrude out of their sides. Very, very dangerous. You can take a hit by one of them if you have 4 hearts. But if you have less than 4 hearts or 4 hearts, you're not going to live. You're going to die. So here in this level, you get these random events throughout the levels. I didn't cover this in my first... Every area has a set of random events. This one is the Dead are Restless. If you happen to get one of these, try to find a tombstone that has the word Ash written on it, and then bomb underneath it, as I just did, to get the shotgun. If you don't want to murder the shopkeepers yet, then this is the ideal way to get a shotgun. Of course, this event is completely random. The jungle has a lot of very annoying enemies. The frogs, I can't tell you how much I hate the frogs. It seems like they always seem to hit me for no matter what I do. But I'll get to that later. But first, see how I'm exercising caution, looking down before going anywhere. This is something you should be doing already. I'm just going to talk about it here. Now, you'll come to these situations where you'll have vines hanging. And a lot of times you'll have monkeys hanging from these vines. Do not let the monkeys grab you on the vines, or they'll always stun you most of the time if you don't shake them off in time, and that could lead to many infuriating deaths into the spikes. So make sure that you deal with the monkeys accordingly. They're definitely not cute and cuddly. These guys can stun you, and that's just as bad as fall damage, like I talked about before. And when you have fall damage, every enemy in the game comes at you. Same thing with these monkeys. And also, the monkeys can take bombs and items away from you, and if they set up the bomb, they'll just kill you anyway, outright. So treat the monkeys very seriously. They're not to be messed with. Also, if you see bats hanging around these spike areas, do not attempt to cross the spike areas unless you kill the bats first. So many times they will knock you into the spikes. Just take them very, very seriously when you're above these spikes. Sometimes in the jungle you'll come up to these beehives. Extremely dangerous if you do not have spike boots or a shotgun or something to defend yourself against the queen bee, because she will kill you so quickly. But the benefit to killing her, you'll get the jelly, which will give you 4 health. Very, very good if you can kill her, because that's like saving 4 maidens, so, or damsels. Oh yes, we have to talk about dark levels. Very, very frustrating to get these, especially during a speed run. But what I recommend is, a lot of people say to just take the torch, period, but I don't do that. I like to take both, especially if I'm toting a shotgun. Just carry the torch like I'm seeing here, and find the next torch, and then just take your shotgun and drop it into the next area. This is important. You don't want to be caught without a weapon. I never leave my shotgun behind if I have one. Even if I'm in a dark level, I'll always find a way to take it with me, and I suggest you do the same. Now, there's something cool that I figured out on my own. I'm sure a lot of people know about this, but if you lose your torch and you have no light source whatsoever, apart from adjusting your TV's brightness, you can use the shotgun if you have one, like I do here. And if you shoot the shotgun, it will give you a little bit of a light source for a split second. It may not seem like much, but it could be the difference between life and death in a lot of situations. See how I just shoot? There's a little bit of light there. Just a flash. Any little bit helps in this game, trust me. In my very first video, I explained you're going to make a lot of mistakes in this game, and mistakes that aren't even your fault. This is what I mean by that. Watch what happens. You have angered Kali. She seems angry. What did I do? I entered the level? Yes, random events happen all the time in this game that you have nothing to do with. But because the game just likes to screw you in a lot of situations, you're going to have to deal with it. And that's what I mean by, mistakes that aren't even your fault. Also, in a Dead or Restless level, you'll have these vampires that are hanging about, just like bats. But they'll have a white butt, you can see, very distinctive. If you do see one, kill them, because if you kill them, you'll get a cape. This is very important, especially for the ice caves. Once he's stunned, just jump on his head and plant a bomb on him. It's the easiest way to deal with him. Well, if you have one of these in the ice caves, it'll make your life a lot easier. It's just a really good item anyway. Let's talk about how to deal with the Tiki Traps and to get comfortable with getting close to them. This trap you will find not only in the jungle, but in the temple and in hell as well. Notice how as soon as you get close to it, it's going to try to hit you. But as it's retracting, you can come back, you can get close to it with no fear. But as you can see, if you're not fast enough, you will always die if you don't have more than 4 hearts. Notice there's a proximity range with these Tiki Traps. Notice how I'm jumping quite a bit of distance away, but I'm getting it to come out, getting the trap to come out, the spikes. Now, this can be manipulated. And always, whenever you can manipulate something in the game, you need to take advantage of it. And in this case, definitely the Tiki Traps, as prominent as a trap as it is, you need to take advantage of this exploit. You can trick it into coming out whenever you want to, so you can bypass it safely. Let's put it into practice in this example. See how the Tiki Trap has a higher elevation point here? It's kind of dangerous to make the jump. I have to trick it right here and then make the jump safely. The other trap that you are introduced to in the jungle are these Piranha Pools. The piranhas will bite you very quickly, so generally I like to avoid these things at all costs. But sometimes you're forced to use a bomb to get past it, but it's worth it. Don't take a chance. It's just not worth it. Now, as you can see here, there's a maiden here. She's not worth going to get, a damsel here. She's not worth it. Unless you want to waste a bomb, it just isn't worth it. Sometimes you just have to ask yourself, is it worth it? You have to analyze the situation. Spelunky is all about planning. Is it worth it? Always ask yourself this question. What's the worst thing that can happen if I do this next move? Kind of like chess. You have to think, okay, what's going to happen if I jump into this pool? And if you play the game long enough, you'll start to understand this concept here. I'll get eaten by a piranha, or a skeleton will rise up at the bottom of the thing, hit me into a piranha. It just gets worse and worse. Always think about what could happen. There's no getting around it. Sometimes you will want to rob the shopkeeper. He's got a jetpack and a compass in this situation. I'm very tempted. So what I do is I put a rope, always put a rope in front of the shop so you can avoid his shotgun blasts. Then you just want to lure him out of his area, out of his shop, any way you can. Manipulate him just like this. Now, you're not going to kill him necessarily. You're going to have other traps do that for you in most cases, either in the mines with the spikes, or sometimes you could just get to the exit and not have to kill him anyway. But in this case, you can move over. See how he's going to follow me. I'm getting him between these. Look at that. That's how you have to deal with shopkeepers sometimes. You let the environment do the work for you. Alright, let's talk about the enemies in the jungle. This big bad boy here is the king frog. He'll spit out infinite amount of these other frogs, which can be very frustrating. If you do not have spiked boots, try to use your whip, but generally either use a bomb or your spiked boots. Hopefully you'll get them in the mines. They're a very important item. One of the more common and one of my least favorite enemies in the game are these frogs. You have the blue type and the orange type. The orange type will blow up, so you can actually use them as free bombs. Positioning them into an area where you want to use a bomb can save you bombs in the long run. You can also cool them off by getting them into a pool. Another new enemy in the jungle are these snails. They shoot these poisonous bubbles at you. When you're on their level, it's not too bad, but when they get to be a problem is when they're below you and you're traveling vertically. That's when they become an issue, and you got to be careful, because if one bubble hits you, it can become a chain death. 1, 2, 3 bubbles and you're dead. So be very careful about that. Now, these piranha plants, do not mess with these things. Hit them, get away from them, avoid them at all costs. If they hit you, you're dead, period. Doesn't matter how many hearts you have. Extremely, extremely dangerous, one-hit kill. More dangerous than the Tiki Traps. The final enemy I'm going to talk about in the jungle are these Tiki Men. These guys will pace back and forth and tote boomerangs. Now, if you get hit by one of their boomerangs, it's going to be probably game over for you, because they'll hit you over and over and over and over again until you just want to throw your controller. So it's not a problem if you hit them when their back is turned. What happens is, when you get into an issue, is when they're facing one direction and refuse to look the other way. This does happen sometimes, and you have to exercise extreme caution. Kill them from above, jump on their heads, do something. Just do not let them see you on their level, or they will hit you with the boomerang, knock you into things. You know how this works. My advice for newcomers is to unlock the shortcuts as you get them, because then you can practice the area and the enemies and get comfortable with them before you go through a full run. That concludes the jungle developing good habits video. Hopefully you guys are developing enough skills to get better at the game. As you can see, each area builds upon the next, so every skill you learned in the mines you can use in the jungle, because some of the enemies are recycled, like the bats and the cavemen and whatnot. I will see you guys in the next video, the Ice Caves.